Welcome to today's video. If you're someone who feels deeply connected to a higher purpose or has spiritual gifts that set you apart, then this video is particularly important for you. As the chosen one, you are likely walking a path that requires a deep connection to your spiritual journey, which can be an incredibly rewarding experience. However, with these gifts and the powerful energy that you carry, you may find yourself facing situations or encountering people who seek to take advantage of your trust, your energy, or your willingness to help others. This is where spiritual manipulation comes into play. Spiritual manipulation is often hard to recognize because it is frequently disguised as something positive, such as guidance, advice, or well-intended support. People who manipulate spiritual energy may present themselves as spiritual guides, mentors, or even friends, but their true intentions are rooted in control, exploitation, or gaining something for themselves. These individuals may use spiritual language or concepts to subtly influence you, leaving you feeling conflicted, drained, or unsure of your own path. It can be difficult to identify because it often presents itself as something that feels spiritual or good, when in reality, it's harmful to your well-being and can even derail your spiritual journey. This video is here to help you recognize the subtle signs of spiritual manipulation so that you can protect yourself and stay true to your path with clarity and confidence. Understanding these signs is crucial because it ensures that you can continue walking your spiritual journey without being distracted, misled, or taken off course by those who might not have your best interests at heart. Spiritual manipulation can come in many forms, whether it's someone telling you what to believe, pressuring you to act a certain way, or making you feel guilty for not following their advice. But by learning to identify these behaviors, you'll be able to discern when your energy is being manipulated, and you'll know how to shield yourself from it. You've likely heard the saying, "Not all that glitters is gold," and in the spiritual realm, that rings true as well. Just because someone speaks with authority, uses spiritual terms, or claims to have your best interests at heart, doesn't mean their intentions are pure. It's crucial that you recognize the signs of spiritual manipulation early, so you don't fall into the trap of following someone else's agenda instead of your own higher calling. In the coming sections, we'll break down what spiritual manipulation looks like, how to identify it, and most importantly, how to protect yourself from it so that you can continue walking your path with confidence. The more you learn to recognize manipulation, the more you'll be able to keep your energy and your purpose aligned with your true spiritual self. If you find this topic relevant to your life, make sure to like and share this video with anyone who might benefit from hearing it. It's time to help others stay empowered on their spiritual journeys too. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can stay connected and receive more content that will help you stay empowered and aligned with your spiritual path. Now, let's dive into how you can recognize spiritual manipulation and protect your journey. Spiritual manipulation is a subtle and often deceptive form of influence that uses spiritual language, concepts, or practices to control, exploit, or undermine someone for personal gain. While spirituality is meant to bring people closer to their higher purpose, connect them with their inner wisdom, and provide guidance on their journey, spiritual manipulation distorts these elements for self-serving purposes. It is crucial to distinguish spiritual manipulation from genuine spiritual guidance, as manipulative behavior can leave you feeling confused, drained, or disconnected from your true path. In this section, we will explore what spiritual manipulation truly is, how it operates, and how it differs from authentic spiritual advice. At its core, spiritual manipulation is the act of using spirituality as a tool to gain control over someone. This could manifest in many ways, but one of the most common tactics is to create dependency on the manipulator. Spiritual manipulators often position themselves as the sole source of guidance, insight, or wisdom, leading the individual to believe that they cannot make spiritual decisions or find their own way without the manipulator's influence. They may encourage you to consult them before every decision, making you feel like your connection to your higher self or your intuition is unreliable without their input. Over time, this dynamic can erode your sense of self-trust and cause you to rely more and more on someone else's opinion, ultimately severing your connection to your own inner wisdom. Another common tactic used in spiritual manipulation is the installation of fear. A spiritual manipulator might use fear-based tactics to convince you that you are in danger, spiritually or otherwise, unless you follow their advice or guidance. They might say things like, "If you don't follow my teachings, you're going to block your soul's purpose," or "You'll be in karmic debt for lifetimes unless you follow this path." This fear creates a sense of urgency and pressure, compelling you to comply with their wishes out of fear of spiritual consequences. Rather than allowing you to follow your own intuition or trust in your connection to the divine, the manipulator distorts your spiritual path by imposing their own agenda on you through fear. Distortion of spiritual principles is another form of manipulation that takes advantage of your trust and spiritual beliefs. Spiritual manipulators may twist spiritual teachings, scriptures, or universal principles to fit their own desires or objectives. They might selectively interpret sacred texts or teachings, leaving out important context to support their personal agenda. For instance, someone might misuse the concept of surrender in a spiritual practice, telling you that you must surrender everything to them in order to grow spiritually. What they may be suggesting is not surrendering to the divine or your higher self, but surrendering your free will and personal autonomy to them. This type of manipulation can lead you away from your true path, making you more susceptible to control and dependence on the manipulator. In these cases, spiritual manipulation distorts the purpose of spirituality. Instead of helping you connect with your authentic self and empowering you to make decisions in alignment with your soul's purpose, the manipulator uses spirituality to create dependency, fear, and confusion, keeping you locked in a cycle of submission. Spirituality, when used correctly, should empower and inspire you, not cause you to doubt yourself or feel that you cannot trust your inner guidance. A clear example of spiritual manipulation is when someone uses terms like soul purpose, divine destiny, or karma to pressure others into following a specific path that serves the manipulator's agenda rather than the person's authentic journey. These terms are often thrown around by spiritual manipulators because they hold deep significance for people on a spiritual path. However, when used in the wrong way, they can be a means to control and guilt-trip individuals into following a particular path or making certain choices that benefit the manipulator. For instance, a person who claims to be a spiritual guide might tell you, "If you don't follow my advice on this matter, you're not living your true soul purpose," or "Your divine destiny is aligned with mine, and you must support my cause in order to fulfill your purpose." At first, this might sound like genuine advice, but the key difference here is that the advice is being given with an underlying agenda to manipulate you into acting in a way that benefits the person giving the advice. The use of such powerful terms, which are typically associated with deep spiritual meanings, can create a feeling of urgency or fear, causing you to question your path and making you feel like you are failing your spiritual journey if you don't follow the manipulator's directives. Another example could involve someone who uses the concept of divine destiny to align you with their goals. Perhaps they may say, "Our spiritual paths are linked, and your success depends on following this specific path." This creates an illusion of interconnectedness or fate, convincing you that you need to follow their specific instructions or advice. Otherwise, your spiritual growth will be stunted, or you will not achieve your true destiny. In these cases, your spiritual freedom and autonomy are compromised because you are being coerced into believing that your personal growth and destiny are dependent on someone else's guidance or control. While spirituality is about finding inner peace, purpose, and connection with something greater than oneself, spiritual manipulators distort this goal for their own gain. They can lead you to believe that you are not enough, or that you cannot trust your own spiritual instincts unless you follow their lead. This can leave you feeling confused, powerless, and unable to discern whether your choices are authentic or simply the result of someone else's influence. What's more troubling is that spiritual manipulation often occurs in contexts where trust is already deeply established, such as in spiritual communities, mentor-mentee relationships, or within families or close friendships. The person manipulating you may appear caring, wise, or compassionate, creating a facade that hides their true intentions. This makes it even harder to recognize manipulation, especially when it is wrapped in spiritual language that sounds genuine and well-meaning. To combat this, it's crucial to maintain self-awareness and trust in your intuition. If something doesn't feel right, or you feel uncomfortable with the advice being offered, it's important to listen to those feelings. Authentic spiritual guidance should uplift you, empower you, and encourage you to trust your own path. Manipulative behavior, on the other hand, will always leave you feeling drained, uncertain, or like your free will is being diminished. In conclusion, spiritual manipulation is a form of control disguised as spiritual guidance. It seeks to create dependency, instill fear, and distort spiritual principles for the manipulator's own gain. By understanding the subtle tactics used in spiritual manipulation, such as the distortion of sacred terms like soul purpose and divine destiny, you can better recognize when someone is trying to steer you off your authentic path. Remember, your spiritual journey is your own, and it's important to maintain your boundaries, trust your intuition, and seek guidance that empowers you rather than diminishes your sense of self. In the next section, we will explore how to recognize the signs of spiritual manipulation and how to protect yourself from falling into its trap. As we've discussed, spiritual manipulation can be a deeply deceptive tactic that uses spiritual language, guidance, and practices to exert control over someone's life. One of the most insidious tools often employed by spiritual manipulators is the use of guilt and shame. These emotions are incredibly powerful, and when used in a spiritual context, they can cause individuals to doubt their own worth, feel responsible for meeting others' expectations, or even question their entire spiritual path. By understanding how guilt and shame are used in spiritual manipulation, you can better recognize when they are being used to manipulate your emotions and steer you off your true course. Spiritual manipulation often involves the strategic use of guilt and shame to make you feel that you are failing in some way, or that you are not living up to some spiritual ideal or standard. This can be incredibly confusing and damaging, especially when the manipulator is someone you trust or look to for guidance. The goal of using guilt and shame in spiritual manipulation is to diminish your sense of self-worth and create a dependency on the manipulator, making you feel as though you cannot trust your own spiritual intuition or decisions without their approval or guidance. One common way that guilt and shame are used is by making someone feel bad for not meeting certain expectations, whether these expectations are spiritual, social, or personal. A manipulator may imply, or outright say, that you are not living up to your spiritual potential or not being a good enough person if you do not follow their advice or adhere to their belief system. This can be especially damaging when the person doing the manipulating uses phrases like, "If you truly understood your soul's purpose, you would be doing this," or "You're not fulfilling your higher calling if you don't act in the way I'm telling you to." These kinds of statements often plant the seed of guilt in your mind, making you feel like you are somehow failing or falling short of the spiritual ideal that has been presented to you. For example, they may say something like, "If you don't follow my advice, you're not spiritually evolved enough," or "People who don't embrace this teaching are spiritually lost." Such statements are meant to create a feeling of inferiority, causing you to internalize their beliefs and feel like you're failing on a deeper, existential level. This can cause significant emotional distress and confusion, leading you to question whether you are truly worthy or capable of walking your spiritual path without their influence. These forms of spiritual manipulation can be incredibly difficult to recognize, especially when they are wrapped in the language of spirituality and love. It can be hard to question the motivations of someone who claims to have your best interests at heart and uses spiritual concepts to guide their actions. However, the key difference between authentic spiritual guidance and manipulation lies in the intention behind the advice. True spiritual guidance uplifts you, empowers you, and encourages you to trust your own intuition and inner wisdom, while manipulation seeks to weaken your sense of self, instilling doubt and guilt in order to make you more reliant on the manipulator. For example, imagine you've been working with someone who positions themselves as a spiritual mentor. They've been offering guidance on your personal and spiritual development, and you've been trusting their insights. However, as you progress, they begin to tell you that if you don't follow a certain teaching they have recommended, you're not truly fulfilling your soul's purpose. They may even imply that you're blocking your spiritual growth or not doing enough to align with your true destiny. At first, you might feel uncertain, But as they continue reinforcing this message, you begin to feel guilty and question whether your path is truly valid. You may feel that you are failing in some way, or that your connection to your higher self is insufficient unless you follow their advice. In this scenario, the manipulator is using guilt to make you feel that you are not good enough, which can create a sense of urgency to comply with their teachings, even if those teachings no longer resonate with you. This tactic works by preying on your fear of missing out on your soul's purpose, making you feel that your spiritual journey is incomplete or invalid without their guidance. Over time, this can erode your confidence in your own spiritual connection and make you more dependent on them for direction, rather than trusting your own intuition or inner wisdom. Another example might be a situation where someone you trust tells you that if you don't donate a significant amount of money or resources to their spiritual cause, you are somehow holding back your own spiritual progress. They might tell you that your soul will be blocked until you contribute, making you feel as though your personal spiritual growth is tied to supporting their work. This type of manipulation makes you feel morally or spiritually obligated to give more than you're comfortable with, creating a sense of guilt and shame when you don't comply. This is an example of how spiritual manipulation can distort the true purpose of generosity, turning it into a tool for control. The key to recognizing this form of spiritual manipulation is to pay attention to how the advice or guidance makes you feel. If you consistently feel pressured, confused, guilty, or as though you are not enough, it is a sign that the manipulation may be at play. Authentic spiritual growth should always feel empowering. It should leave you feeling more aligned with your true self, more connected to your inner wisdom, and more confident in your spiritual journey. If, instead, you feel like you're constantly falling short or unable to meet impossible standards, it's important to step back and assess whether the guidance you're receiving is truly in alignment with your highest good. In conclusion, guilt and shame are powerful tools that spiritual manipulators use to control others. By making you feel inadequate, unworthy, or disconnected from your soul's purpose, they can influence your decisions and create a dependence on their guidance. It's crucial to recognize when guilt and shame are being used as tactics to manipulate you, and to remember that your spiritual journey is yours alone. No one has the right to make you feel inferior or guilty for not following their advice. Trust your own path, and don't allow others to make you doubt your ability to walk it with confidence. In the next section, we will explore how to identify the specific signs of spiritual manipulation and how to protect yourself from falling into its traps. As we explored in the previous section, guilt and shame are potent tools in the hands of a manipulator, often used to keep their victims in line by making them feel inadequate or disconnected from their spiritual path. But another highly effective method that spiritual manipulators use is creating dependency. This is a subtle but dangerous tactic where the manipulator seeks to make the victim feel that they cannot access their higher wisdom, intuition, or spiritual insight without the manipulator's guidance or validation. Over time, the victim begins to rely more and more on the manipulator for decisions, advice, and even validation of their own spiritual experiences, eventually undermining their ability to trust themselves. One of the core principles of a healthy spiritual journey is self-reliance, the belief that you can trust your own intuition and wisdom, which comes from your connection with the divine. However, spiritual manipulators prey on this need for connection and use it to create a false sense of dependency, convincing you that you cannot truly access your higher self without their direction. This manipulation often begins subtly, with seemingly harmless advice or guidance, but over time, it leads to an erosion of your independence and spiritual sovereignty. The manipulator may tell you that they have special knowledge, a deeper connection to the divine, or unique insights that only they can offer, subtly making you feel that you need them in order to navigate your spiritual journey effectively. As this dependency grows, you may find that you begin to second-guess your decisions, always seeking the manipulator's approval before making any significant choices in your life. The manipulator may begin to set themselves up as the final authority on what is right for you, whether it's about your spiritual practices, your relationships, or your life choices. They may encourage you to turn to them for guidance on even the most minor decisions, creating a sense of reliance that gradually erodes your own confidence and ability to trust your intuition. Instead of feeling empowered by your own connection to the divine, you begin to feel helpless, believing that your spiritual growth and well-being are tied to their approval and guidance. The danger of this dependency is that it places the manipulator in a position of power over your spiritual journey. Instead of cultivating your own inner strength and wisdom, you may find yourself constantly seeking validation from someone else, making it difficult for you to take ownership of your own path. Over time, this dynamic can create an unhealthy imbalance in the relationship, where the manipulator gains more and more influence over your life, while you become less confident in your own abilities and insights. This cycle of dependence can become toxic, with the manipulator continuing to hold you in a state of reliance, preventing you from stepping into your full spiritual potential. Let's look at an example that demonstrates how this kind of dependency can take root. Imagine a person who is seeking spiritual guidance from a mentor or teacher. At first, the mentor offers valuable insights and guidance, helping them to grow spiritually. However, over time, the mentor begins to suggest that in order to continue growing, the individual must rely on their teachings for every decision they make. The mentor might say things like, "I know what's best for you," or "If you don't follow my guidance, you will block your spiritual progress." As the person continues to seek advice, they begin to turn to the mentor for every decision, from the smallest personal choices to larger, more important life decisions. Slowly, the individual loses confidence in their own ability to trust their intuition or make independent choices. In this scenario, the mentor is creating a sense of dependency by suggesting that the individual's spiritual well-being is only attainable through their advice and validation. The more the person seeks approval, the more the manipulator gains control over their life. This relationship can be hard to break because, over time, the individual may begin to feel like they are unable to make decisions without the manipulator's guidance, and they may even feel spiritually inadequate if they do not follow the prescribed path. The individual's sense of personal autonomy is diminished, and they may begin to doubt their own spiritual insights, leading to a deep sense of confusion and dependence. This type of manipulation often preys on your deepest fears: the fear of being lost or uncertain on your spiritual path, the fear of not living up to your true potential, or the fear of making the wrong choices. The manipulator taps into these fears and uses them to make you feel that you need their guidance in order to succeed. Instead of empowering you to find your own answers, they strip away your ability to trust your own inner wisdom, leaving you reliant on their direction. Over time, this dynamic can cause you to feel trapped, unsure of how to make decisions on your own, or how to find your way without the manipulator's input. Another example of how this dependency can unfold is in a situation where a spiritual leader or guru convinces their followers that they are the only one who has access to divine wisdom. This could involve the leader telling their followers that only they can interpret spiritual texts, perform certain rituals, or communicate with the divine on their behalf. They might imply that any attempt to access spiritual truth outside of their teachings is misguided or dangerous. Over time, the followers begin to believe that they cannot connect to the divine without the leader's intercession or direction. This creates a deeply unhealthy dependency, where the individual feels spiritually inadequate without the leader's presence or approval. This dynamic can be particularly damaging in spiritual communities or groups where people are already seeking a sense of belonging or guidance. A manipulative leader or group can easily exploit this vulnerability by offering a sense of community and belonging in exchange for total adherence to their rules and beliefs. The more the individual becomes involved, the harder it becomes to break free from the dependency that has been created. The person may feel isolated or fearful of making their own spiritual decisions, worried that they will be judged or ostracized if they choose to go against the manipulator's advice. The process of regaining independence from spiritual dependency starts with recognizing the signs of manipulation. It requires reclaiming your ability to trust your intuition and wisdom, even when you've been conditioned to doubt it. You must begin to notice when you are seeking someone else's approval, rather than listening to your own heart. This process is often uncomfortable, as it challenges the comfort of knowing exactly what to do based on someone else's guidance. But true spiritual empowerment comes from the ability to make decisions confidently, trust your inner knowing, and understand that you have the wisdom and connection within yourself to navigate your spiritual path. One of the most important steps in breaking free from dependency is reaffirming your personal spiritual connection. Spend time reconnecting with your own intuition, praying, meditating, or simply being present in nature. Allow yourself to hear your own voice and trust the messages that come from within. You may also find it helpful to seek guidance from a variety of sources, not just from one person. By doing so, you prevent yourself from being tied to one individual's opinion or advice, which reduces the risk of dependency and increases your ability to follow your own path. In conclusion, creating dependency on the manipulator is one of the most dangerous tactics used in spiritual manipulation. By convincing you that you cannot make decisions without their guidance or approval, manipulators strip away your ability to trust your own inner wisdom and intuition. This dependency can lead to confusion, insecurity, and a sense of powerlessness on your spiritual journey. However, recognizing this manipulation and working to reclaim your personal power is essential for maintaining your independence and staying true to your authentic path. Trust in your own wisdom and your connection to the divine, and remember that your spiritual journey is yours alone to navigate. In the next section, we will discuss how to recognize other common forms of spiritual manipulation and how to protect yourself from them. As we explored in the previous section, manipulators often create a sense of dependency by making others feel as though their spiritual progress and decisions are only valid when guided by the manipulator. This dynamic can lead to an erosion of personal autonomy and trust in one's own intuition. However, one of the most insidious forms of spiritual manipulation involves violating personal boundaries under the guise of spiritual growth. In this section, we will discuss how some individuals exploit spiritual language to dismiss, ignore, or even violate the personal boundaries of others, often using the concept of spirituality as an excuse to pressure someone into actions, beliefs, or situations that they are not ready for or do not feel comfortable with. Boundaries are essential in any healthy relationship, and spiritual relationships are no exception. Spirituality, by nature, requires openness, vulnerability, and trust. But when personal boundaries are disrespected, this can lead to manipulation, emotional harm, and a disconnection from one's true spiritual path. The issue arises when individuals who hold spiritual power or influence manipulate others into doing things that violate their personal space, beliefs, or emotional well-being. The most troubling part of this manipulation is that it often masquerades as spiritual guidance, making it even harder for the victim to recognize that their boundaries are being crossed. In many cases, manipulators use spiritual language and concepts to rationalize their behavior, making the victim believe that their discomfort or resistance is a sign of spiritual weakness, ignorance, or stagnation. For example, a manipulator might tell you that true spiritual growth requires sacrificing personal comfort, time, or energy for the greater good, thereby pushing you into situations where you feel pressured to overextend yourself. They might present it as a sacred responsibility that transcends your personal needs, convincing you that you are not truly committed to your spiritual path if you do not follow their directives, no matter how much it strains your personal limits. One of the most common phrases used in this form of manipulation is the idea that spiritual growth requires sacrifice. This statement is often used to justify pushing someone beyond their personal limits. The manipulator may argue that in order to evolve spiritually, you must put aside your own needs, comfort, or well-being for the sake of a greater cause or collective spiritual purpose. While it is true that personal growth often requires challenging oneself and stepping outside of one's comfort zone, the use of this phrase to guilt or pressure someone into sacrificing their health, relationships, or inner peace for the sake of someone else's spiritual cause is not only unethical, but dangerous. True spiritual growth should empower you, not make you feel drained, depleted, or disconnected from your own well-being. For instance, imagine a situation where a spiritual leader encourages their followers to commit all their time, energy, and resources to a particular cause or practice, even if it interferes with their personal life or needs. They might say things like, "If you truly want to grow spiritually, you need to give everything to this cause. This is your soul's mission, and the universe will reward your sacrifice. While the desire to contribute to a meaningful cause is not inherently negative, this manipulation seeks to remove the boundaries between personal well-being and the expectations of the group or individual leading the cause. Instead of fostering a balanced, healthy connection to spirituality, the manipulator uses guilt and pressure to make others feel that they are failing spiritually if they don't give up their own time, resources, or energy. This can lead to burnout, resentment, and a loss of connection to one's true spiritual self. Manipulators may also pressure individuals to engage in spiritual practices or groups that they are not ready for, using phrases like, "This is a necessary step for your spiritual growth," or, "If you don't commit to this, you're holding back your progress." In this case, the manipulator is disregarding the person's emotional readiness or personal boundaries. They may push someone to participate in group activities, workshops, or teachings that feel uncomfortable or misaligned with their spiritual needs. Instead of respecting the individual's pace and readiness, the manipulator rushes them into situations that may not be right for them, convincing them that it's required for their spiritual development. This can leave the person feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, or even spiritually confused, as they are pressured into practices that they do not fully resonate with. Another example of how manipulators violate personal boundaries is through invasions of emotional or physical space. In some spiritual contexts, manipulators may try to justify their actions by claiming that they need to help you heal or guide you through an important process. They might demand that you open up about personal details of your life, such as traumas, fears, or private experiences, under the guise of clearing negative energy or helping you evolve spiritually. In a healthy spiritual relationship, your boundaries should be honored, and you should feel safe to share only what you are comfortable with. A manipulator, however, might press you to reveal personal or painful information in an effort to gain control over your emotions or exploit your vulnerabilities. The use of spiritual language in this context makes it even more difficult to recognize the manipulation. A manipulator may present themselves as someone who has access to higher spiritual wisdom, making you feel that their intrusion into your personal life or emotional space is justified or even necessary for your growth. They might say, "To truly heal, you must confront these aspects of yourself," or "Only by sharing this can you break free from your past and move forward." While healing can indeed be a transformative process, it should never come at the expense of your personal comfort or safety. True healing respects boundaries and helps you connect with your authentic self, rather than pushing you into uncomfortable or harmful situations in the name of spiritual growth. This kind of boundary violation can also manifest in more subtle ways. A manipulator might push someone to make financial sacrifices, claiming that donating money to their cause is a requirement for spiritual advancement. They may use the idea of karma or divine purpose to pressure individuals into giving more than they are comfortable with, making them feel that their spiritual path is at risk if they do not comply. The manipulator might say, "If you want to fulfill your soul's purpose, you must contribute to this cause, and the universe will reward you in return." This kind of manipulation preys on the desire for spiritual validation and uses it to justify exploiting someone's resources. In these situations, it's important to recognize that true spiritual growth never forces anyone into a position of discomfort or sacrifice beyond their limits. While spirituality can involve challenges and transformation, it should never involve compromising your basic needs, physical health, or emotional well-being. Healthy spiritual practices encourage balance, growth, and inner peace, rather than forcing you into circumstances that harm you. One of the most important things you can do to protect yourself from spiritual manipulation is to honor your boundaries. Trust your intuition and listen to your body, emotions, and heart when you feel uncomfortable or pushed beyond your limits. You are entitled to say no when something feels misaligned with your authentic self, or when someone's demands infringe on your personal space or needs. Spirituality is meant to empower you, not diminish your sense of autonomy or self-worth. In conclusion, manipulating boundaries under the guise of spirituality is one of the most common and harmful tactics used by spiritual manipulators. They pressure individuals to sacrifice their personal needs, comfort, and autonomy for the sake of a so-called higher purpose or spiritual growth. It's essential to recognize when someone is crossing your boundaries and to protect your personal space, emotions, and resources. By doing so, you not only safeguard your well-being, but also ensure that your spiritual journey remains authentic and true to your higher self. In the next section, we will explore how gaslighting is used in spiritual manipulation and how to protect yourself from these forms of psychological manipulation. As we've seen in the previous sections, spiritual manipulators often use various tactics to undermine a person's sense of self, making them question their own beliefs, experiences, and intuition. One of the most subtle yet damaging tools in the manipulator's arsenal is gaslighting. Gaslighting, in its most basic form, is a psychological manipulation technique used to make someone doubt their own reality, memories, or experiences. In spiritual contexts, gaslighting can be particularly harmful because it directly targets an individual's ability to trust their inner wisdom, intuition, and connection to the divine. This tactic often causes confusion, self-doubt, and disconnection from one's authentic path. Gaslighting is a manipulative strategy that seeks to make someone question what they know to be true, leaving them unsure about their own reality. In spiritual manipulation, a gaslighter may use spiritual language or concepts to make you believe that your intuitive feelings, experiences, or beliefs are invalid or unworthy. Instead of encouraging you to trust your own inner guidance, a manipulator might twist your perceptions, making you question whether you are truly connected to spirit or whether your experiences are real. By doing this, they slowly erode your confidence in your ability to discern what is true for you, replacing your inner voice with their version of reality. In many spiritual communities, trust in one's intuition and personal connection to the divine is paramount. Your ability to listen to your inner wisdom and make decisions aligned with your higher purpose is key to walking a fulfilling spiritual path. However, when gaslighting is employed, that trust in yourself is systematically undermined. A manipulator may make you feel as though you are not spiritually evolved enough or not in touch with your true self unless you follow their guidance, often using subtle manipulations to make you doubt your own perceptions and experiences. A typical example of spiritual gaslighting might occur when you express concerns about someone's advice or intentions, only to be told that you are not truly connected to spirit, or that you are misinterpreting the signs that are guiding you. The manipulator might dismiss your concerns by saying something like, "You're not seeing things clearly," or "Your intuition is clouded because you're not spiritually advanced enough to understand." These statements are meant to undermine your personal experiences and perceptions, leaving you questioning whether your concerns are valid. Over time, this manipulation can lead you to second-guess your own insights and abilities, making you more likely to rely on the manipulator's version of reality. In these situations, the manipulator often uses spiritual language to make their control feel justified. They might claim to have a deeper connection to spirit or a more profound understanding of spiritual principles, implying that they are the authority on what is right or true in your spiritual journey. By presenting themselves as the spiritual expert, they attempt to invalidate your personal experiences and beliefs, making you feel inferior or misguided if you don't follow their lead. This not only undermines your trust in yourself, but also creates a sense of dependency on the manipulator, as you begin to believe that they are the only one who can provide you with clarity or guidance. For example, imagine you are working with a spiritual mentor or guide, and you start to feel uncomfortable with certain advice or practices they are recommending. You might express your concerns, feeling that the guidance doesn't resonate with your higher self or your intuition. Instead of acknowledging your feelings, the manipulator might dismiss them by saying, "You're not listening to spirit properly," or "You're not understanding the signs because you're not at the level I am." In doing so, they make you question your own ability to tune into your spiritual guidance, leaving you feeling confused and unsure about your own experiences. Another example of spiritual gaslighting could occur when you question the actions or behaviors of someone who claims to be a spiritual leader. Let's say that this person has been pushing you to adopt certain practices or beliefs, and you start to feel uncomfortable with the pressure they're exerting. When you express your discomfort, they might respond with, "If you don't follow this path, you're rejecting your soul's purpose," or "Your fear is preventing you from fully awakening." These statements can make you doubt your own feelings and beliefs, leaving you wondering whether your resistance is truly about maintaining your personal boundaries, or if it's a sign that you're not spiritually advanced enough to understand the higher truth they claim to represent. Gaslighting in spiritual contexts is particularly insidious because it often targets your sense of self-worth and personal sovereignty. Spirituality, at its core, is meant to empower you, helping you connect with your true self and guiding you toward a greater sense of purpose and fulfillment. However, when a manipulator uses gaslighting, they try to strip away your confidence in your own spiritual power and replace it with their version of truth. This makes it more difficult for you to trust your instincts and your ability to discern what is best for your spiritual journey. It's important to recognize that gaslighting in spiritual contexts can come from various sources. It could be a spiritual teacher, a mentor, or even someone within your spiritual community. The key is to understand that spirituality should never diminish your sense of personal power or make you feel like you are unable to make decisions for yourself. True spiritual growth is about cultivating inner strength, wisdom, and confidence, not about placing yourself in a position where you must constantly seek external validation or approval. One of the most harmful aspects of gaslighting is that it often gradually erodes your sense of reality, making you feel as though you are the one who is wrong or misinterpreting the spiritual experiences that you're having. Over time, you may become so accustomed to questioning your own feelings that you start to doubt your ability to navigate your own spiritual path. This creates a vicious cycle where you turn to the manipulator for guidance, feeling that your personal insights and intuition are not enough. As a result, you lose touch with your authentic self and your connection to spirit, which can leave you feeling lost and disconnected. In some cases, gaslighting can go even further, with the manipulator isolating you from others who might offer alternative perspectives. They may discourage you from seeking advice from other spiritual sources, claiming that only their guidance is trustworthy. This isolation can further deepen your dependence on the manipulator as you become more reliant on their interpretations of your spiritual experiences. It's important to remember that true spiritual growth is about finding a balance between trusting your own intuition and seeking wisdom from various sources, rather than becoming trapped in a cycle of dependence on one person or belief system. The key to protecting yourself from spiritual gaslighting is to trust your own experiences and honor your feelings. If something doesn't resonate with you or feels out of alignment with your higher self, it's important to listen to that inner voice. No one has the right to make you feel inferior or question your connection to the divine. True spiritual teachers and guides will always encourage you to find your own truth, honor your inner wisdom, and empower you to walk your unique path. Spiritual growth should never involve doubt or confusion about who you are or what you believe. It should inspire confidence, clarity, and peace within you. As we transition into the next section, we will explore the subtle signs that someone might be trying to manipulate your spiritual journey and how to protect yourself from such influences. Recognizing the signs of spiritual gaslighting is the first step in reclaiming your spiritual sovereignty and staying true to your path. As we move forward from discussing gaslighting and its subtle effects on spiritual manipulation, it is now crucial to explore how you can identify when someone is attempting to manipulate your spiritual journey. Spiritual manipulation, as we've seen, can be masked in various forms, often hidden behind seemingly good intentions or spiritual language. Manipulators might present themselves as spiritual guides, mentors, or helpers who claim to have access to deeper truths. However, their real objective is to control your spiritual path and your decisions. To protect yourself from this kind of manipulation, it is essential to recognize the subtle signs that someone might be trying to manipulate you spiritually. One of the most common signs of spiritual manipulation is the consistent dismissal of your intuition. As someone who is walking a spiritually connected path, your intuition is one of your most powerful tools. It's a divine gift that helps you navigate your journey with clarity and insight. However, a manipulator may try to convince you that your intuition is unreliable, questioning your ability to make decisions for yourself. They may make statements like, "You're not seeing the bigger picture," or "Your intuition is clouded because you're not ready for the truth yet." By undermining your ability to trust your own inner guidance, they create a situation where you begin to doubt your own wisdom, leaving you more susceptible to their influence. When someone dismisses your intuitive feelings or constantly tells you that you cannot trust yourself, this is a clear sign that they may be trying to manipulate you spiritually. Your intuition should always be honored, and no one should make you feel that your feelings are wrong or invalid. A spiritual guide's role is to help you hone your intuition, not dismiss it. If you find that someone is constantly undermining your internal guidance, it's time to step back and evaluate whether their influence is truly serving your spiritual growth, or if it's simply pushing you further from your own authentic path. Another sign of spiritual manipulation is trying to control your decisions. A manipulator may use spiritual language to pressure you into making certain decisions that align with their interests rather than your own. This could look like telling you that you must take a specific action or follow a particular path in order to fulfill your soul's purpose or avoid spiritual failure. For example, they may say things like, "If you don't take this path, you're blocking your spiritual growth," or "Your destiny depends on following my guidance," or "You'll miss out on divine opportunities." The manipulator may make you feel that your spiritual well-being is in jeopardy if you do not comply with their recommendations or follow their advice. They create an atmosphere of urgency and fear, making you feel like you have no choice but to follow their direction. By doing so, they strip away your autonomy and power, leaving you dependent on their decisions for your spiritual life. This type of pressure is not aligned with authentic spiritual growth, which should always empower you to make decisions based on your inner wisdom and the divine connection you have to your higher self. A manipulator might also exploit your desire to help others for their own benefit. If you are someone who is naturally inclined to be compassionate and assist others on their spiritual journey, manipulators may recognize this and use it to their advantage. They might push you to give more of your time, energy, or resources than you are comfortable with, often under the guise of helping the greater good or serving a higher spiritual cause. Statements like, "You have a responsibility to help others, even if it costs you," or "The more you sacrifice, the more you align with your true purpose," are tactics often used to make you feel that your personal needs and boundaries don't matter. In reality, these statements exploit your kind nature, pushing you to overextend yourself and eventually draining you of your energy and resources. In such cases, the manipulator makes you feel as though your role in supporting others supersedes your own needs or well-being. They might subtly make you feel guilty for not doing enough, or suggest that you're not spiritually advanced if you don't dedicate yourself to their cause. The key here is to recognize that true spiritual service involves balance, where your own well-being is respected while also helping others. If you feel that your desire to help is being used as leverage to control your actions or energy, it's important to recognize that as manipulation. Creating an atmosphere of fear or urgency is another powerful tactic often employed by spiritual manipulators. They may use phrases that create a sense of panic or pressure, making you feel like you are running out of time or missing a divine opportunity. The manipulator might tell you, "If you don't act now, you'll miss your chance at spiritual enlightenment," or "There's no time to wait, your soul is in danger if you don't follow this path immediately." This kind of urgency can create anxiety and make you feel like you need to act quickly, without fully considering whether the decision is in alignment with your true self. In these cases, the manipulator seeks to rush your decision-making process, often preventing you from taking the time to reflect and listen to your inner guidance. They create a sense of urgency around spiritual practices, decisions, or investments, making it seem like your spiritual growth or salvation depends on immediate action. While there may be times when quick decisions are necessary, true spiritual growth is a process that doesn't require hurried, pressured decisions. Any guidance that tries to push you into urgency without allowing space for your reflection and discernment should be questioned. Another common sign of spiritual manipulation is the person constantly claiming to have the truth or divine knowledge. Spiritual manipulators often position themselves as the only ones who hold the key to your spiritual journey. They might claim to have special access to divine wisdom, spiritual truths, or insights that are not available to others, creating a dynamic where you feel like you need to follow their path in order to achieve spiritual growth. They may say, "I know the truth, and you must listen to me if you want to fulfill your purpose." Or, "I have been spiritually awakened and can guide you toward the enlightenment you seek." By positioning themselves as the ultimate source of truth, they create a sense of spiritual hierarchy, where you feel inferior if you don't comply with their direction. You may feel that you are spiritually less than or unworthy if you question their authority or take a different path. This manipulation is dangerous because it undermines your personal connection to the divine and forces you to look to an external source of truth rather than trusting your own wisdom. It's important to remember that no one person has exclusive access to the truth or divine knowledge. Your spiritual journey is personal, and it should empower you to connect with your inner guidance and trust the wisdom that resides within you. As we conclude this section, it's clear that the signs of spiritual manipulation are often subtle and masked by seemingly good intentions. Manipulators may dismiss your intuition, control your decisions, exploit your desire to help, create urgency or fear, and claim exclusive access to spiritual truth. However, recognizing these signs is crucial for protecting your spiritual well-being and maintaining your connection to your authentic path. When someone seeks to control or diminish your spiritual power, it's important to stand firm in your boundaries and trust in your own guidance. In the next section, we will explore practical strategies for protecting yourself from spiritual manipulation, empowering you to maintain your spiritual sovereignty and continue on your path with confidence. As we've discussed throughout this video, spiritual manipulation can take many forms, whether it's through dismissing your intuition, controlling your decisions, exploiting your desire to help, creating fear or urgency, or claiming exclusive access to spiritual truths. Manipulators work to undermine your spiritual autonomy and keep you dependent on their influence. The key to avoiding or recovering from these manipulative tactics is to recognize the signs early and, most importantly, protect yourself. In this section, we will explore practical strategies to safeguard your spiritual well-being, allowing you to continue on your path with confidence, clarity, and authenticity. The first step in protecting yourself from spiritual manipulation is to trust your intuition. Your intuition is a powerful tool that connects you to your higher self, to divine guidance, and to your inner wisdom. Spiritual manipulators often attempt to cloud your intuition, making you question your feelings and experiences, but it's important to trust your inner voice. If something feels off, if you have a sense of unease or discomfort in a particular situation, listen to those feelings. Your intuition is your greatest protector, and learning to distinguish between what resonates with you and what feels forced or manipulative is key to staying aligned with your true spiritual path. Sometimes, your intuition might send you subtle signals, like feeling drained or confused after interacting with certain people, or feeling a deep sense of discomfort when a particular situation arises. These are your spiritual red flags, alerting you to the fact that something is amiss. Instead of dismissing these feelings or second-guessing yourself, honor them. Take a moment to step back, ground yourself, and ask yourself what feels right for you. Trusting your intuition will help you stay centered and make decisions that are aligned with your authentic self. Another crucial aspect of protecting yourself from spiritual manipulation is setting strong boundaries. Boundaries are essential in all relationships, but they are especially important in spiritual relationships, where the manipulation of your energy, emotions, and personal beliefs can easily occur. Spiritual manipulators will often try to push your boundaries, especially when they sense that you are open, compassionate, or willing to help others. This could look like pressuring you into certain practices, demanding your time or resources, or making you feel responsible for others' spiritual journeys. Setting clear boundaries is about knowing what you are and are not willing to accept in terms of behavior, advice, and energy from others. You have every right to say no when something doesn't feel right for you. If someone is trying to push you into a situation, practice, or decision that you are not comfortable with, it's okay to assert your boundaries and respectfully refuse. Saying no is a way of protecting your energy and maintaining your sense of spiritual autonomy. Healthy boundaries also mean protecting your time, emotional energy, and mental space. If someone constantly asks for your attention or attempts to impose their beliefs or practices on you, it's important to set limits. You don't need to explain or justify your boundaries to anyone. Simply stating that you need time for yourself or that you are not comfortable with their approach is enough. Remember, boundaries are not just about saying no to others. They are also about saying yes to yourself, to your needs, your healing, and your well-being. By establishing and maintaining these boundaries, you ensure that your spiritual journey is not being dictated by someone else's agenda, but by your own inner wisdom and guidance. Seeking guidance from multiple sources is another effective way to protect yourself from spiritual manipulation. It's important to remember that no one individual, guru, or teacher has a monopoly on truth. Spirituality is a deeply personal and evolving experience, and you should feel empowered to explore different perspectives and sources of wisdom. This could include reading books, attending workshops, meditating, connecting with different spiritual communities, or seeking guidance from a variety of trusted sources. The more you expose yourself to different viewpoints and teachings, the better equipped you are to discern what resonates with your soul and what doesn't. When you seek guidance from multiple sources, you create a well-rounded spiritual practice that allows you to stay grounded in your own truth. It also prevents you from becoming overly dependent on one person or system, which is exactly what manipulators want. They thrive on isolation and control, so spreading out your sources of wisdom ensures that you are receiving a balanced perspective and that you are not trapped in an echo chamber of someone else's beliefs. You can always use discernment to decide which teachings feel right for you, but having diverse sources of input makes it more difficult for any one person to steer you off your path. One of the most important steps in protecting yourself from spiritual manipulation is to prioritize your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Manipulators thrive when they see you in a vulnerable state, often preying on your fears, insecurities, or desire for connection. To safeguard yourself, it's essential to maintain self-care practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit. This includes engaging in activities that ground you, such as meditation, spending time in nature, journaling, or practicing mindfulness. These practices help you stay connected to your own inner peace and strength, making it easier to recognize when something is out of alignment with your true self. Self-care also involves taking regular breaks from spiritual practices or communities that may feel draining or toxic. If you find that a certain group, teacher, or practice is leaving you feeling exhausted, confused, or uncentered, it may be time to step back and recharge. Taking care of your well-being is not selfish. It's essential for maintaining a healthy and balanced spiritual life. When you are well-rested, mentally clear, and emotionally grounded, you are better equipped to discern when someone is trying to manipulate you and when you need to distance yourself from their influence. Once you recognize the manipulative behavior, reclaiming your personal power becomes a transformative act of healing. Trusting yourself and reconnecting with your inner wisdom is a powerful step in protecting yourself from spiritual manipulation. When you trust your intuition and stand firm in your boundaries, you take back control of your spiritual journey. This allows you to walk your path with clarity and confidence, free from the influence of others who seek to manipulate or control your spiritual life. An example of this could be someone who, after recognizing manipulation, begins to trust their intuition more and set boundaries with those who are trying to control their spiritual decisions. By asserting their needs and saying no to what no longer serves them, they reclaim their personal power and affirm that their spiritual path is theirs alone to navigate. They may seek guidance from multiple sources, but ultimately, they make decisions based on their own inner knowing and trust in their unique journey. In conclusion, protecting yourself from spiritual manipulation involves trusting your intuition, setting clear boundaries, seeking guidance from diverse sources, and prioritizing your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. When you take these steps, you ensure that your spiritual journey remains authentic and aligned with your true self. Manipulators may attempt to control, confuse, or pressure you, but by strengthening your inner foundation and reclaiming your personal power, you will be able to continue on your path with confidence and clarity. As we wrap up this video, Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed and the key takeaways that can help you protect yourself from spiritual manipulation. We've seen how manipulators can use a variety of tactics to control your spiritual journey, whether it's by dismissing your intuition, creating dependency, exploiting your desire to help, or even making you feel guilty or ashamed for not following their advice. These forms of spiritual manipulation are all designed to cloud your inner wisdom, make you doubt yourself, and push you off your authentic path. But the most important point we've explored is that you have the power to recognize these signs, protect your energy, and stay true to your own spiritual path. First and foremost, always remember that your intuition is your greatest guide. Trusting your inner wisdom is key to recognizing when something feels off or manipulative. If you sense that someone is trying to control your decisions or make you feel guilty, take a step back and listen to what your inner voice is telling you. Your connection to spirit is personal, and you are always capable of discerning what is right for you. It's vital to remain firm in your own beliefs and understand that spiritual growth does not require compromising your values, comfort, or boundaries for the sake of someone else's agenda. Another important aspect of protecting yourself is setting strong boundaries. Your spiritual journey is yours alone, and no one should be able to dictate it for you. Boundaries are a form of self-respect and self-care. They allow you to maintain your autonomy and prevent others from taking control of your spiritual decisions. Whether it's distancing yourself from toxic influences or simply saying no to practices or beliefs that don't resonate with you, maintaining healthy boundaries is essential for safeguarding your energy and staying on track with your true purpose. Throughout this video, we've discussed various signs of spiritual manipulation, but ultimately, it all comes down to recognizing when someone is trying to compromise your sense of self. Spiritual growth should always leave you feeling empowered, not drained or confused. If you ever find yourself doubting your intuition or questioning your decisions because of someone else's pressure or influence, take a step back and recenter yourself. Your journey is unique and divinely guided, and it's important to trust that path, even if others try to push you off it. Lastly, don't be afraid to question. Question the motives of those who offer guidance, especially if they try to make you feel like you are less than or inferior for not following their lead. Spirituality is not about blind obedience to another person's will. It's about deepening your connection to the divine and finding what resonates with your true self. The journey is yours to navigate, and you have the power to make choices that honor your inner truth. In conclusion, protecting yourself from spiritual manipulation is about staying grounded in your truth, trusting your intuition, setting boundaries, and being discerning about who you allow to influence your journey. You are capable of recognizing when something isn't right and are strong enough to stand firm in your beliefs. Your spiritual path is unique and divinely guided, and no one should make you feel that you have to compromise it to meet their expectations. Keep your connection to your higher self strong, and remember that you are always supported on your journey. If you recognize any of these signs in your life, don't forget to like and share this video with others who might benefit from hearing this message. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content that will help you stay focused, empowered, and connected to your spiritual journey. Keep shining brightly and trust in the path that you are walking. Thank you for being here today.